What if telling your husband to leave for one weekend set off a chain reaction you could never reverse? How could I have guessed that the moment I pushed him out, he would stop coming back, and that it would be me facing the consequences, not him? The moment I asked Julian to leave for the weekend, I should have noticed how quickly he agreed. Too quickly, like he'd been waiting for permission to disappear from our life together. My best friend really needs me this weekend, I said, not meeting his eyes as I folded laundry in our bedroom. Maybe you could visit your brother or something. Julian looked up from his lesson plans, his pen hovering over a page about the Civil War. How fitting. Which friend? He asked quietly. Sarah, I lied smoothly. She's going through a rough patch with her divorce. I need to be there for her completely, you know? No distractions. The word distractions hung in the air like smoke. That's what my husband of 10 years had become to me. A distraction from the life I actually wanted to live. Julian set down his pen with deliberate care. Of course, Lysandra, I understand. But something in his tone made my skin prickle. He understood too much, too easily. A normal husband would have asked questions, maybe even protested a little. Julian just nodded and reached for his phone. I'll call Tristan, he said. Maybe spend some time with Mom too. I felt a surge of irritation. You don't have to make it sound like I'm kicking you out. Aren't you? The question was so soft I almost missed it. What's that supposed to mean? Julian looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something I hadn't expected. Resignation. Nothing, Lise. I'll pack a bag. As he moved around our bedroom gathering clothes, I felt a strange mix of victory and unease. This was what I wanted, wasn't it? Space, freedom, time to figure out what I actually needed from life instead of just going through the motions of being Mrs. Julian Harker. I'll pick up Nora from school and drop her at Mum's before I go, Julian said, folding his shirts with the same methodical precision he brought to everything. That way you can focus completely on Sarah, our 9-year-old daughter. Another complication I hadn't fully considered. That's probably best, I agreed quickly. She doesn't need to see Sarah upset. Julian paused in his packing. Right, Sarah. The way he said her name made my stomach flip. Did he know Sarah was in Hawaii with her new boyfriend? Did he know I hadn't spoken to her in 3 weeks? When will you be back? I asked, trying to sound casual. Sunday night, unless you need more time. No, Sunday's fine. But as I watched him zip up his overnight bag, I wondered if Sunday would come and go without him walking back through our front door. The thought should have scared me. Instead, it felt like possibility. Julian kissed my cheek before he left, a perfunctory gesture we'd both grown accustomed to. Take care of yourself, Lise. I will. He paused at the bedroom door. I mean it. Really take care of yourself. Figure out what you need. Then he was gone, and I was alone with the silence and the weight of what I was about to do. I waited exactly 30 minutes before texting Cal. Coast is clear. Can you come over? His response was immediate. On my way, beautiful. Cal Finch was everything Julian wasn't. Spontaneous, passionate, dangerous. He made me feel alive in ways I'd forgotten were possible. We'd been dancing around each other at the gym for months, our conversations growing longer, our accidental touches more frequent. Last week, he'd finally asked me out for coffee. I can't, I'd told him. I'm married. Unhappily, he'd replied, and I hadn't corrected him. Now, as I changed into the red dress Julian never complimented anymore, I felt like I was shedding my old skin. Lysandra, the wife, the mother, the insurance claims analyst, who processed other people's disasters all day. Tonight, I would just be Lys, young, desirable, free. Cal arrived with wine and that crooked smile that made my knees weak. So, this is the famous Harker house, he said, looking around our living room with its family photos and Julian's carefully organized bookshelves. Welcome to suburban paradise, I said sarcastically. He pulled me close. Paradise is wherever you are. It was a cheesy line, but it worked. When was the last time Julian had said anything remotely romantic to me? When was the last time he'd looked at me like Cal was looking at me now? Like I was something precious and exciting instead of just there. We ordered takeout and ate on the couch, my legs draped over his lap like we were teenagers. Cal told me stories about his personal training clients, his dreams of opening his own gym someday, his plans to travel to Thailand next year. "What about you?" he asked. "What do you dream about?" The question caught me off guard. When was the last time anyone had asked me that? "I don't know," I admitted. "I used to want to be a photographer. Before Nora, before the mortgage, before everything got so complicated." "It's not too late," Cal said, his hand tracing patterns on my ankle. "You're only 33. You could still do anything." Could I? Looking into his eyes, I almost believed it. We talked until midnight, and then we did more than talk. In my own bed, the one I shared with Julian, I let myself forget about responsibilities and consequences and the life I'd built with careful, methodical precision. For the first time in years, I felt reckless and alive. Afterward, Cal held me close. "This weekend doesn't have to end," he whispered. "We could run away together. Start over somewhere new." "Don't be ridiculous," I laughed, but part of me wondered what that would feel like, to just disappear, to become someone else entirely. "I'm serious, Lys. You deserve better than this." He gestured around the room. "Better than him." "You don't even know Julian." "I know he doesn't make you happy. I know you light up when you're away from all this. That's enough for me." Saturday passed in a blur of stolen kisses and whispered plans. We went to lunch at a little cafe across town where no one would recognize me, walked through the park holding hands like a real couple, made love again in the afternoon sunlight streaming through my bedroom windows. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt justified. This was what I'd been missing, what Julian had never been able to give me. Passion, excitement, the feeling that I mattered, that I was desired, that someone would fight for me. Sunday evening came too quickly. Cal kissed me goodbye at the door, promising to see me at the gym Monday night. "This doesn't have to be the end," he said again. "I know," I replied, and meant it. Julian returned exactly when he said he would, at 8 o'clock Sunday night. He knocked on his own front door instead of using his key, which struck me as odd. "How is Sarah?" he asked as he set down his bag. "Better, much better. Sometimes people just need someone to listen." "Yes," Julian said quietly. "They do." He seemed different somehow, calmer, more resolved. It should have been a relief, but it made me nervous in ways I couldn't explain. "How is your brother?" I asked. "Enlightening," Julian replied. "We had some very interesting conversations." That night, we slept on opposite sides of our king-size bed, the space between us feeling wider than ever. But for the first time, I didn't mind. I had Cal now. I had possibilities. I had a future that extended beyond this house, this routine, this life that had started to feel like a prison. I fell asleep thinking about Thailand, about photography, about red dresses and crooked smiles, and the way it felt to be wanted again. I should have been thinking about the look in Julian's eyes when he said goodbye Friday night. I should have wondered why he knocked on his own door. I should have noticed that he never actually asked me any details about Sarah's problems, but I was too busy planning my escape to pay attention to the trap that was already closing around me. Monday morning felt different. I woke up before my alarm, actually excited about the day ahead. Julian was already gone. He always left early to prep for his first period history class, but he'd left coffee in the pot and Nora's lunch packed on the counter, efficient as always. "Mum, you're humming," Nora observed over her cereal. "Am I?" I smiled at my daughter, really looked at her for the first time in weeks. She had Julian's dark hair, but my green eyes. I guess I'm just in a good mood. Why? Because I remembered what it feels like to be alive, I thought. Because someone thinks I'm beautiful. Because I have options now. "Can't a mum just be happy?" I asked instead. Nora shrugged, but I caught her studying my face, with the intensity kids reserve for things that don't quite make sense. At work, I found myself checking my phone constantly, waiting for texts from Cal. He didn't disappoint. Can't stop thinking about this weekend. You're incredible. When can I see you again? Meet me for lunch. I made excuses to my co-workers and met him at a sandwich shop downtown. He was waiting in a corner booth, and the way his face lit up when he saw me made my heart race. I was starting to think I dreamed the whole thing, he said, standing to kiss my cheek. Too intimate for a public place, but I didn't pull away. It was real, I assured him. Good, because I have plans for us. Over lunch, Cal painted pictures of the life we could have together. Weekend trips to the mountains, dinner at restaurants that didn't have kids' menus, lazy Sunday mornings without schedules or responsibilities. What about Nora? I asked. Kids are resilient, she'll adjust, and Julian seems like a decent enough guy. He'd take good care of her. The casual way he dismissed my daughter's feelings should have bothered me more than it did. Instead, I found myself nodding. Julian would take good care of her. He was good at taking care of things, maintaining them, keeping them running smoothly. Maybe that's all Nora really needed from a parent. I can't just abandon my family, I said, but the words felt hollow. You're not abandoning anyone. You're choosing yourself for once. When's the last time you did that? He was right. When was the last time I'd put my own needs first? When was the last time I'd done something just because I wanted to, not because it was expected or required or responsible? That evening, I told Julian I was going to the gym. Again? He asked, looking up from helping Nora with her math homework. You went Friday too. I'm trying to get in shape. Is that a problem? No, of course not. I just thought maybe we could all watch a movie together. As a family. The word family felt like a weight around my neck. We can do that tomorrow night. But even as I said it, I knew I'd find another excuse tomorrow. Cal was waiting for me in the gym parking lot. I couldn't concentrate on my other clients today, he said, pulling me into his arms. All I could think about was you. We went through the motions of a workout, but the real exercise was in stolen glances and accidental touches. When he spotted me during bench presses, his hands lingered on my wrists. When I used the rowing machine, he stood behind me, ostensibly correcting my form, but really just finding excuses to put his hands on my shoulders. There's a hotel, he whispered as we pretended to discuss my training routine. 20 minutes from here. We could go after your workout. I can't. Julian will wonder where I am. Tell him you went for drinks with coworkers. Tell him anything. The hotel was generic and clean, the kind of place that specialized in not asking questions. Cal had already gotten a room, which should have made me feel cheap, but instead made me feel wanted. He'd planned this. He'd thought about me enough to plan this. Afterward, lying in the unfamiliar bed, I felt more like myself than I had in years. I could get used to this, I said. You should. You deserve to feel this good all the time. When I got home at 10:30, Julian was reading in bed. He looked up when I entered, taking in my flushed cheeks and slightly mussed hair. Good workout, he asked. The best, I replied, and meant it. This became our new routine over the next few weeks. I'd go to the gym 3, sometimes 4 times a week. Cal and I would meet at the hotel, or sometimes just in his car in secluded parking lots, making out like teenagers and planning our imaginary future together. Julian never questioned my sudden dedication to fitness, which I took as evidence that he'd stopped caring about what I did with my time. If anything, he seemed relieved when I announced my gym plans, like my absence made his evenings easier. Mom's always at the gym now, I heard Nora tell him one evening as I was getting ready to leave. Mom's taking care of herself, Julian replied. That's important. But when I looked back from the doorway, I saw him watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. At work, I started taking longer lunches to meet Cal. My productivity slipped, but I didn't care. Janet, my cubicle neighbor, started making comments about my frequent absences. Hot date? She'd joke when I returned from lunch with that telltale glow. Something like that, I'd reply, not bothering to deny it. The lies came easier now. I told Julian I was working overtime when I was really having dinner with Cal. I said I was helping Sarah with her divorce when I was spending Saturday afternoons in hotel rooms. I claimed girls' nights that were really romantic evenings at restaurants across town. "You've been so busy lately," Julian observed one Sunday morning as we sat at the kitchen table with coffee and newspapers, playing at normal married life. "Work's been crazy," I said automatically. "And Sarah's doing better." "Much better, almost back to her old self." Julian nodded and returned to his paper, but I caught him looking at me over the sports section with that same unreadable expression. The truth was, I'd never felt better. Cal made me feel young and desirable and free. With him, I wasn't Julian's wife, or Nora's mother, or the insurance analyst who processed other people's disasters. I was just Lise, passionate, spontaneous, alive. "I love you," Cal whispered one evening, as we lay tangled in hotel sheets. The words should have scared me. Instead, they felt like a key turning in a lock I hadn't even realized was there. "I love you too," I whispered back, and knew I meant it. Later that night, lying next to Julian in our marriage bed, I felt like a stranger in my own life. This house, this routine, this man beside me, none of it felt real anymore. The real me was with Cal, planning escapes and dreaming of Thailand, and remembering what it felt like to be wanted. Julian stirred in his sleep, reaching for me unconsciously. His hand found my arm, and even in sleep, his touch was gentle, familiar, safe. Safe. When had that become a bad thing? I moved away from his touch and stared at the ceiling, counting the hours until I could see Cal again. "We should go out," Cal said one evening, as we lay in our usual hotel room. "Like a real couple. I'm tired of hiding." "We can't," I protested automatically. "Someone might see us." "So what if they do? You're not happy with him, Lise. Everyone can see that." "Could they?" I'd thought I was being discreet, maintaining the facade of my marriage while exploring this new part of myself. But maybe Cal was right. Maybe my unhappiness was more obvious than I realized. "There's this new place downtown," he continued. "The Bistro. Great food, intimate atmosphere. We could have a real date for once." The idea was terrifying and thrilling in equal measure. A real date. In public. Like we had nothing to hide. "What if someone I know sees us?" "Then they see you with someone who makes you happy. Is that really so terrible?" When he put it that way, it didn't sound terrible at all. We made plans for Friday night. I told Julian I was having dinner with Janet to celebrate her promotion. "That's nice," he said, not looking up from the papers he was grading. "Tell her congratulations from me." His easy acceptance stung more than suspicion would have. He didn't even care enough to be curious about my plans anymore. The Bistro was everything Cal had promised. Dimly lit, romantic, the kind of place where couples leaned across small tables and whispered secrets. Cal had reserved a corner booth, and he ordered wine, like he did this sort of thing all the time. "To new beginnings," he said, raising his glass. "To new beginnings," I echoed. The wine was good, better than anything Julian and I ever ordered. We talked about everything and nothing. His dreams of opening a gym, my abandoned photography ambitions, places we wanted to travel together. "I've been thinking," Cal said as we shared dessert, "about what you said the other night, about not being able to leave because of Nora." "What about it?" "Kids adapt, and honestly, she might be better off with parents who are happy apart than parents who are miserable together." I thought about Nora, how quiet she'd become lately, how she watched Julian and me with those serious eyes that seemed to see too much. "Maybe you're right," I said. "I know I'm right. Life's too short to waste it on the wrong person." As if summoned by our conversation, Julian walked into the restaurant. My blood turned to ice. He was with his brother Tristan, and Tristan's wife Amy, probably out for their monthly dinner date. They were being seated at a table across the room, but Julian's eyes found mine immediately. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then Julian said something to Tristan, who turned to look in our direction. Amy followed his gaze, her mouth forming a small O of surprise. "Shit," I whispered. "What?" Cal turned to see what I was looking at. "Oh, that him?" "Yes, that's him." "He's smaller than I expected." Julian wasn't small. He was average height, lean but not skinny. Next to Cal's gym-built physique, though, he probably looked diminished. "We should go," I said. "Why?" "We're not doing anything wrong. You're having dinner with a friend." But even as he said it, Cal reached across the table and took my hand, his thumb stroking across my knuckles in a gesture that was unmistakably intimate. "Don't," I said, trying to pull away. "Why not?" "I'm tired of pretending, Lise. I want everyone to know how I feel about you." Across the room, Julian was still watching us. He said something else to Tristan, who nodded and stood up. They were leaving. Julian had seen enough. "Now look what you've done," I hissed. "What I've done, I held your hand, in public, like people do when they care about each other. You don't understand. This complicates everything." "Good. Maybe it's time things got complicated. Maybe it's time you made a choice." The drive home was silent, my mind racing with explanations and excuses. How could I explain this to Julian? What would I say? But when I got home, Julian wasn't there. His car was gone, and the house was dark except for the porch light he'd left on for me. I found a note on the kitchen counter. "Took Nora to Mum's for the night. We need to talk tomorrow." My hands were shaking as I read it. This was it. The confrontation I'd been avoiding, the reckoning I'd somehow thought I could postpone indefinitely. I called Cal, but he didn't answer. I poured myself a glass of wine, then another, trying to calm my nerves and plan what I would say. By the time Julian came home Saturday morning, I decided on my strategy. Offense was the best defense. "I can't believe you just left last night," I said as soon as he walked through the door. "That was so embarrassing." Julian set his keys on the counter with deliberate care. "Embarrassing for who exactly?" "For all of us. Tristan and Amy must think we're having problems." "Aren't we?" The question hung between us like a challenge. "Every marriage has rough patches," I said. "That doesn't mean you storm out of restaurants like a child." "I didn't storm out. I left because I didn't want to watch my wife on a date with another man." "It wasn't a date. Cal is a friend from the gym. We were just having dinner." "Lysandra." Julian's voice was quiet, but there was steel underneath. "I saw how he was looking at you. I saw how you were looking at him. Don't insult my intelligence." "You're being paranoid." "Am I?" "When's the last time you looked at me the way you were looking at him last night?" I couldn't answer that. Wouldn't answer that. "I want him gone," Julian said. "Whatever this is, it ends now. You can't tell me who I can and can't be friends with." "I can when your friend is obviously in love with you and you're obviously encouraging it." "That's ridiculous." "Is it? Then call him right now. Tell him you can't see him anymore. If he's really just a friend, it shouldn't be a problem." The challenge in his voice made me angry. Who was he to make demands? Who was he to control my friendships? "I'm not calling anyone," I said, "and I'm not going to be controlled by your jealousy and insecurity." Something shifted in Julian's expression. The hurt was still there, but it was hardening into something else, something that looked almost like resolve. "Fine," he said quietly. "Then I guess we both know where we stand." He walked upstairs and I heard the shower start. When he came back down, he was dressed for his Saturday morning run, a routine he'd maintained for years, one of the many predictable things about him that had started to annoy me. "Where's Nora?" I asked. "Still at Mum's. I thought we might need some time to figure things out." "There's nothing to figure out. You're overreacting to an innocent dinner." Julian paused at the door. "Liz, I've been trying to save this marriage for months, but I can't do it alone, and I won't compete with someone else for my own wife." "No one's asking you to compete. Aren't they? He looked at me with something that might have been pity. I'll pick up Nora this evening. Try to figure out what you actually want before then, for her sake, if not for mine. After he left, I called Cal. How did it go? He asked. About as well as you'd expect. He wants me to stop seeing you. And what did you tell him? That he can't control who I'm friends with. Good girl. This is your chance, Lys. Your chance to choose the life you actually want instead of the one you settled for. As I listened to his voice, warm and encouraging and full of possibilities, I felt my resolve strengthen. Julian was trying to control me, to keep me trapped in a life that was slowly suffocating me. But I had choices now. I had options. I had Cal. You're right, I said. It is time to choose. The family dinner at Gina's house was a mistake from the moment we walked through the door. Julian's mother had been making these monthly gatherings for years, bringing together her 2 sons and their families for pot roast and passive-aggressive commentary disguised as concern. Lysandra, dear, Gina said, kissing my cheek with the same enthusiasm she might show a mosquito. You look different. Different how? I asked, though I knew exactly what she meant. I'd been taking more care with my appearance lately. New makeup, clothes that actually fit properly, a confidence that came from knowing someone found me irresistible. Younger, I suppose. More vibrant. The way she said vibrant made it sound like a character flaw. Julian was quiet during dinner, responding to direct questions but not initiating conversation. Tristan tried to fill the awkward silences with stories about his job at the bank, while Amy cooed over Nora and asked about school. Mum's always at the gym now, Nora announced during dessert. She goes like every day. Every day? Gina's eyebrows rose. My, that's quite dedicated. I'm trying to get in shape, I said defensively. Is there something wrong with taking care of myself? Of course not, dear. It's just that some women your age, when they suddenly start obsessing over their appearance. She let the sentence hang, its implication clear. What's that supposed to mean? Mother, Julian warned quietly, I'm just saying that sometimes when people make dramatic changes, it's because they're going through something, a crisis of some sort. The word crisis hung in the air like an accusation. I felt my face flush with anger and embarrassment. I'm not going through a crisis. I'm going through a renaissance. A renaissance, Gina repeated as if tasting the word. How interesting. After dinner, while the men cleaned up and Nora played with Gina's ancient cat, I stepped onto the back porch for air. My phone buzzed with a text from Cal. Missing you. Can't wait to see you tomorrow night. I was smiling at the message when Amy joined me outside. Everything okay? She asked. You seem a little tense tonight. I'm fine. Just tired. Tristan told me about the restaurant last Friday. My stomach dropped. What about it? He said Julian was pretty upset, that you were there with someone. A friend from the gym. People are making way too big a deal out of this. Amy was quiet for a moment, studying my face in the porch light. Lysandra, can I ask you something? As a friend? We weren't friends, not really, but I nodded. Are you happy? The question caught me off guard. What kind of question is that? An honest one. Are you happy with Julian? With your life? Happiness is complicated, I said carefully. No, it's not. It's actually pretty simple. Either you wake up grateful for the life you have or you don't. And if you don't, then you figure out why and fix it, but you don't blow up everything good while you're figuring it out. There was something in her tone that made me defensive. I'm not blowing anything up. Aren't you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're about to make some very destructive choices. You don't know anything about my marriage. I know Julian loves you. I know Nora adores you. I know you have a good life with a good man, and you're risking all of it for what? Some guy at the gym? It's not about some guy. It's about me. It's about feeling alive again instead of just going through the motions. And you can't feel alive with your husband? When's the last time Julian made you feel like the most beautiful woman in the world? I shot back. When's the last time he surprised you, or made your heart race, or made you feel like anything other than a roommate he splits bills with? Amy was quiet for a long moment. Maybe the question isn't when Julian last made you feel beautiful. Maybe it's when you last tried to make him feel wanted. Her words hit like a slap. Before I could respond, she went back inside, leaving me alone with my phone and my anger and the uncomfortable truth of what she'd said. The next evening, I met Cal at our usual hotel. I told him about the dinner, about Amy's questions, about the growing pressure from Julian's family. "They're trying to guilt you into staying," he said, pulling me close. "That's what families do when they're losing control." Maybe they have a point, though. About Nora, about the disruption. Hey. He tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his eyes. "Don't let them get in your head. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be with someone who appreciates you." Julian appreciates me. Does he? When's the last time he told you you were beautiful? When's the last time he planned a surprise for you or made you feel special? The questions echoed Amy's words, but in reverse. When had Julian last made me feel special? I couldn't remember. "You're right," I said. "I'm always right about you." Cal kissed my forehead. "I have an idea, something that might make this easier." "What kind of idea?" "There's this work party thing next weekend, for the gym, all the trainers and their partners. Come with me." "Cal, I can't. People will see us together." "So what? It's time to stop hiding, Lys. It's time to start living your truth." "My truth?" "That you're with me now, that you've chosen happiness over obligation." The idea terrified and thrilled me in equal measure. A public appearance, as Cal's girlfriend, as someone other than Julian's wife. "I don't know." "I do. I know you're ready for this. I know you're ready to stop pretending to be someone you're not." That night, lying next to Julian, I stared at the ceiling and thought about truth. What was my truth? That I'd married a good man and built a stable life, and slowly suffocated under the weight of contentment. That I'd forgotten who I was outside of being a wife and mother. That Cal made me remember what it felt like to be desired, to be chosen, to be seen as something more than just a fixture in someone else's life. "Lys?" Julian's voice was soft in the darkness. "Are you awake?" "Yeah." "We should talk, really talk, about what's happening with us." "I'm tired, Julian. Can we do this tomorrow?" "We keep saying tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes, does it?" I didn't answer, couldn't answer, because he was right, and I wasn't ready for the conversation that honesty would require. "I love you," he said quietly. "I know things have been difficult lately, but I love you, and I want to fight for us, if there's still in us to fight for." The words should have moved me. A year ago, they would have. But now they just felt like another obligation, another weight to carry. "I love you too," I said, because it was expected, because it was easier than the truth. But as I said the words, I wondered if they were still true, or if they'd become just another lie in the growing collection I was building between us. The next day, I called Cal and told him I'd go to the party with him. "Really?" The joy in his voice was infectious. "Really? You're right. It's time to stop hiding." "You won't regret this, Lys. I promise you won't regret this." As I hung up the phone, I felt a mixture of excitement and terror. This was it, the point of no return. After this, there would be no more pretending, no more lying, no more trying to have it both ways. After this, I would have to choose. And I already knew which choice I was going to make. The gym's annual party was at a trendy downtown venue, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. I'd bought a new dress for the occasion, black, form-fitting, the kind of thing I never would have worn to one of Julian's faculty gatherings. Cal met me in the parking lot, looking devastatingly handsome in a suit that emphasized his broad shoulders and narrow waist. "You look incredible," he said, spinning me around. "Every guy in there is going to hate me." Good, I replied, surprising myself with my boldness. The party was in full swing when we arrived. Cal introduced me to his co-workers and their dates as Lise, the woman I've been telling you all about. Not as his friend, not with any qualifiers or explanations. Just as the woman he'd been talking about, the one who mattered. So you're the one who's got Cal all twisted up, laughed Marcus, another trainer. He can't shut up about you. All good things, I hope, I said. The best things. He's completely gone over you. Cal's arm tightened around my waist. Can you blame me? I felt beautiful, desired, significant. When was the last time Julian had looked at me the way Cal was looking at me now? When was the last time anyone had described Julian as completely gone over me? We danced, we laughed, we acted like a real couple. I met other trainers and their girlfriends, and for a few hours, I let myself imagine this was my real life, that I was Cal's girlfriend, not Julian's wife, that I was someone who went to parties and wore beautiful dresses and was cherished by a man who couldn't keep his hands off me. I could get used to this, I whispered in Cal's ear as we swayed to a slow song. You should. This is how it could be all the time. Don't tempt me. I'm trying to tempt you. I want to tempt you into the life you deserve. Near the end of the evening, as we were saying our goodbyes, I noticed a familiar face across the room. Janet from work was standing near the bar, staring at me with obvious shock. My blood ran cold. Janet knew Julian. We'd all gone to a few company picnics together over the years. She knew I was married. Shit, I muttered. What's wrong? Cal followed my gaze. Who is that? Someone from work. Someone who knows Julian. So this complicates things. Only if you let it. You're not doing anything wrong, Lise. You're moving on with your life. But I hadn't moved on, had I? I was still living in Julian's house, still wearing his ring, still playing the part of his wife when it suited me. Janet approached us as we were leaving. Lysandra, I thought that was you. Her smile was tight, artificial. I didn't expect to see you here. Janet, hi. This is Cal. Cal, this is my co-worker, Janet. Cal shook her hand with easy confidence. Nice to meet you. You too. Janet's eyes flicked between us, taking in our obvious intimacy, the way Cal's hand rested possessively on my lower back. So, how do you two know each other? The gym, I said quickly. Cal's a trainer there. How nice. And Julian? How's he doing? The question was loaded with implication. Julian, my husband. Julian, who wasn't here. Julian, who had no idea where I was or who I was with. He's fine, I said stiffly. Good to hear. Well, I should let you get going. See you Monday, Lysandra. As she walked away, I felt the evening's magic evaporating. Reality was creeping back in, bringing with it all the complications I'd been trying to ignore. She's going to tell him, I said. Let her. Maybe it's time Julian knew the truth. You don't understand. This isn't how I wanted him to find out. How did you want him to find out? Were you planning to keep living a double life forever? The question stung because it was fair. What had I been planning? To keep sneaking around indefinitely? To somehow maintain both relationships without either man discovering the truth? I need time to figure this out, I said. Time for what? To find a way to keep lying to everyone, including yourself? That's not what I'm doing. Isn't it? You want me, but you won't leave him. You're unhappy in your marriage, but you won't end it. You can't have it both ways forever, Lys. He was right, and I hated him for it. I hated that he was forcing me to confront the choices I'd been avoiding. I hated that the evening's perfect fantasy was crumbling under the weight of real life. I should go, I said. Don't run away from this. Don't run away from us. I'm not running away, I just need to think. Cal caught my arm as I turned to leave. Think about what? About whether you want to be happy? About whether you want to be with someone who actually appreciates you? It's not that simple. It is that simple. You're just making it complicated because you're scared. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was scared. Scared of hurting Julian. Scared of disrupting Nora's life. Scared of what people would think. Scared of making a choice I couldn't take back. But as I drove home that night, I realized I was more scared of something else, staying trapped in a life that felt like it was slowly killing the person I used to be. Julian was waiting up when I got home, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea and a stack of papers. "How was girls' night?" he asked without looking up. I'd told him I was going out with Janet and some other co-workers. Another lie in the growing collection. "Fine, good, we went to that new place downtown." "The Meridian?" "Yeah, that's the one." Julian nodded and made a note on one of his papers. Grading, probably. Always grading, always responsible, always exactly where he said he'd be. "Julian?" "Do you ever think about what your life would be like if you'd made different choices?" He looked up then, studying my face. "What kind of different choices?" "I don't know. Different career, different city, different life. Sometimes. But then I think about what I'd be giving up, and I realize I wouldn't change anything important." "Nothing? You wouldn't change anything at all?" "I'd change some things. I'd make more time for us. I'd be better at showing you how much you mean to me. I'd pay more attention to what you need instead of assuming you're happy just because I am." His honesty caught me off guard. When had Julian become so self-aware? "But the big things," he continued. "Marrying you, having Nora, building this life together? No, I wouldn't change any of that." I should have felt touched by his words. Instead, I felt trapped by them. Julian was content with our life in a way I'd never been. He saw our routine as stability. I saw it as stagnation. He found comfort in predictability. I found it suffocating. "What about you?" he asked. "What would you change?" "Everything," I thought. "I'd change everything." "I don't know," I said instead. "I'm tired. I think I'll go to bed." "Liz?" Julian's voice stopped me at the doorway. "We're going to have to talk about this eventually, about what's really going on." "I know," I said, but as I went upstairs, I wondered if talking would change anything. Julian wanted to save our marriage, but you can't save something that one person has already decided to leave behind. That night, I lay awake planning what I would say to Cal, how I would explain that I was ready to make a choice. Ready to choose him, choose happiness, choose the life that felt real instead of the one that just felt safe. I fell asleep thinking about new apartments and custody arrangements and how to tell Nora that Mommy was going to be living somewhere else for a while. I should have been thinking about Janet's knowing smile, about the way Julian had looked at me when I came home, about the papers he'd been making notes on at the kitchen table. But I was too busy planning my escape to notice that someone else might be planning too. Monday morning brought the confrontation I'd been dreading. Janet cornered me by the coffee machine before I'd even settled into my cubicle. "So," she said with false casualness, "that was quite the party Saturday night." "It was nice," I replied, trying to match her tone. "Cal seems attentive." "He's a good friend." "Is that what we're calling it?" Janet's smile was sharp, because from where I was standing, it looked like a lot more than friendship. "I don't know what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything, Lysandra. I'm stating facts. You were at a party with another man, acting like a couple, while your husband was home with your daughter." The accusation hung between us like a challenge. I could deny it, but we both knew what she'd seen. "My marriage is complicated," I said finally. "Most affairs are." The word affair hit me like a slap. That's what this was, wasn't it? Not a friendship, not a midlife crisis, not a search for happiness. An affair. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. And if I can see it, other people can too, including Julian. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm trying to help you. You're about to destroy your life for what? Some guy at the gym who'll probably move on to the next unhappy housewife in 6 months. You don't know, Cal. You don't know anything about this situation. I know you're making a mistake. I know Julian is a good man who doesn't deserve this. And I know Nora doesn't deserve to have her family blown up because her mother is having a midlife crisis. Don't bring my daughter into this. You brought her into it the moment you decided to cheat on her father. I walked away before I said something I'd regret, but Janet's words followed me. Affair, cheating, destroying my family. Was that really what I was doing? By lunch, I'd convinced myself that Janet was wrong. This wasn't about destroying anything. It was about building something new, something real, something that made me feel alive instead of slowly dying inside. I met Cal at our usual place, a small cafe where we could sit in a corner booth and pretend we were just friends grabbing lunch. "You look upset," he said as soon as he saw me. I told him about Janet, about her accusations and threats. "She's jealous," Cal said dismissively. "Probably stuck in her own dead marriage and can't stand to see someone else choosing happiness." "What if she tells Julian? Then she saves you the trouble of having to do it yourself." "Cal, I'm not ready for that conversation yet." "When will you be ready? Next month? Next year? Never?" "I just need more time to figure out how to do this right." There is no right way to leave someone, Lise. There's just doing it or not doing it. All afternoon, I waited for Julian's call, bracing for fallout that never arrived. At home, he cooked Nora's favorite pasta like nothing was wrong, then casually said Janet had called, only about my stress. His calm felt sharper than anger. We ate a careful dinner, smiling for Nora while avoiding every real sentence. Later, she asked if we were getting divorced because we were acting. That night, Julian finally said it. He knew about the affair, and he'd known since Saturday. I didn't deny it. I admitted I wasn't sorry it happened. He packed for his mother's, and the silence he left behind felt like freedom and grief.